We record for Hobie Kent. Oh, sorry, Hobie. I can't say his last name. Hi, Hobie. He watches while he bikes or walks. He listens. Yeah, he enjoys it. All right. Well, Hobie, we're going to talk about the Pastor Sean's semi-pretentious guide to coffee first. So I print this out at the beginning of every year just to help everybody, in their coffee adventures, if they ever want to explore more. There's 3 waves of coffee in America. There was the first wave, which is that was your Folgers and that sort of thing. So that was more just what Folgers is, Maxwell House. The second wave of coffee was Starbucks, which was more, you upped the quality of beans, but it was very dark roast. So if you've ever had Starbucks, it's very dark. They like to cook their beans a lot. And then the third wave was it's called the third wave of, I forget what the official name is for it. The third wave of coffee is kind of like almost like the microbrew of beer. Everybody's all like, the special beers. And that was treating coffee more like a fruit, because coffee is actually a fruit. So it's not roasting it to oblivion like Starbucks does, but rather subtly roasting it to bring out its more fruity flavors. And so way back when I lived in Toledo, I lived probably like 5 minutes down the street from the best coffee shop in the city, and they taught me all this. Really just good. So each bag of coffee from different areas, kind of like wine, has a different flavor profile that you can taste it. It's when you get to the good stuff, you can. For example, I did this thing once with a group where I took 2 bags of coffee. One was from this one mountain in Ethiopia, and one was from another mountain, I think it was 30 miles away, and you could taste the difference. It was kind of cool. So it's crazy. I'm not lying to you, even though some people are like, I don't taste it. But yeah, so that's that. And if you ever want really good coffee and you want to experience that, Wired that we did it here is more of just a quick stopgap. It's all right. Saxonburg does okay coffee. Best local cup is St. Paul's Parsonage. That is in Edgewood. Do you know where that's at? You can look it up in the directory. The second best is 1833 in Freeport. They actually, their roaster, I think it's 1835. It's kind of funny. It's very similar to their actual name, but they use a good roaster from Pittsburgh that properly does beans. Their coffee is insanely caffeinated though, so I've ran into trouble there. Because I have a threshold. If I hit that threshold, I go nuts, and so I get shaky and sweaty. So that's happened there once. They have the best, and soon to be the new coffee shop that the Coffee Bus people open. They actually use the same roaster as 1833, because 1833 helped them get started. That was very nice of them. Yeah, it was a really cool. Yeah, it's going to be in Saxonburg. Runs.
Traveling ones.
They were a traveling bus.
It was an old school bus,
yeah.
A shorter bus. They converted to a traveling coffee stop. And they drive around to businesses in the mornings, or they park somewhere that's real popular. It's very good. And they sell pastries and all kinds of stuff.
So they bought Runts Roadhouse, wasn't it? Runts Roadhouse across the street from that gas station, and they're going to convert that into a coffee shop. So highly recommend that. Now, if you want to go nuts, if you really want to go nuts, these top 5 roasters. I did a thing where I found an article about all the best roasters in the country, and so I went through them all, and I found the top 5 favorite ones of myself. My favorite is Madcap Coffee. You cannot go wrong if you really want to get a cup of coffee. And Klatch Coffee has the best. If you get the Ethiopian, it's the best cup of coffee you will ever have. I guarantee it. It's so incredible. And then the other ones are whatever. All right, and then if you want to look into better ways to make coffee, there's Hario, which is a pour-over method, which I sometimes use if I have a lot of time and I'm feeling snotty. Chemex is similar. The one I use all the time that kind of eclipsed the pour-over methods as OXO made a pour-over coffee maker, which mimics the whole what you're supposed to do. It's not just straight water. It kind of pulses, and so it actually mimics what you would do if you're doing a pour over. And that's actually what that is that I found for $20 on Facebook Marketplace. But the newer one's a little nicer, and that's the one I have at home. So I would highly recommend, if you want to up your coffee game at home, buy that. It'd be and also, and it's $130, but also there's the Specialty Coffee Association for proper extraction of flavor of beans. It needs to be between 200 and 212, and OXO is the only one that will get you that hot as far as for a regular cup of coffee. So there's your coffee. 212 degrees. And also, Pastor Sean is but human. He has the top 3 guilty pleasures. Dunkin' Donuts is my favorite kind of street level coffee. That's where I found out where your office was. Every time I would go out and eat, I got to stop at Dunkin'. I'm like, wait a second, I know that name, and that's where I found the office. Georgette's was a nice place in Toledo that was across the street from my old call. And they made this winter stuff called Frosty's Favored Fun that had graham, cinnamon, like all these different flavors mixed in, the bean. Oh. And then Nicholas Coffee in downtown Pittsburgh is my favorite. They have like all these flavor blends there, and they're so good. It's good. So if you ever want to order from Nicholas, free shipping with orders above $50, and it's really good. You're supporting a local business. So and it's really neat downtown. It's in Market Square and has it's like this magical coffee lover's dream there. So that's your coffee 411 here. You can keep this for yourself. I saw you didn't take it in there. I'm sorry. All right. And Matt Wilson will be ordering some really snobby stuff for us later, but I just had to get something kind of over the counter. All right. So there's more than one way to skin a cat. The Oxford Dictionary defines a proverb as a short, pithy saying in general use, stating a general truth or piece of advice. So having said that, do you have any favored non-biblical proverbs that you might want to share with us? A favorite non-biblical proverb that has impacted your life, or that your parents used to say to you, or that maybe you've said to your children? And if they involve a swear word, you can, because there's 2 that I was thinking of this, and both of them, my dad also did a swear word with it, and so.
Well, my favorite saying is, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is.
Yeah, that's a classic one. What were you going to say?
Chris's grandmother used to say, "Thanks for the buggy ride." After you took her in a car somewhere.
That's what her grandmother always said. We still kind of say it, and so do we. Yeah.
You got some good sayings in that.
Yeah, the 2 my dad taught me, and they actually stuck with me. I shouldn't share them. Opinions are like a-holes. Everyone has one. That was one my dad always shared. And then assuming makes an A out of you and me. It took me till I was 25 to realize that it's true, because assuming does have the word ass in it. And I didn't realize my dad was using that in that deep of a fashion. Those are 2 that stuck with me, and it made me to watch my opinions.
In my business life, that came up a lot.
Yeah.
My dad always told me, "Don't do as I do as I say."
Oh, that's a good one. That's a great parent one. Yeah. Any non-biblical proverbs that you like? I could see you having some good ones.
Give us a good one.
Yeah. I mean, there's what's another one? I can't think of any other ones, but yeah.
I just remember when because I like to read, and I had a bookmark when I was little, and for some reason this just sticks in my mind. It said, Confucius say, pickle make squashy bookmark.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. And so Proverbs in general, not just biblical Proverbs are effective because, why do you think Proverbs are so effective? I mean, it's kind of, the answer's obvious. The
rhyme and
yeah.
They're true.
Yeah, they're true. Yeah, most of the time they're true. Yeah, I'll give you a 95, yeah. Proverbs are effective because they remind you, they stick in your head, like the assuming thing. I was sticking in my head, I try not to assume because my dad always would say that. Or, the opinions one, besides being funny, always made me go, maybe I shouldn't be so opinionated sometimes. And so yeah. So they're good because they stick in your head, they're short, and so that's essentially the book of Proverbs, the book of Proverbs, though it shares much in common. So it's the same thing in that they're short, pithy sayings that help get across a truth. It's not simply, the book itself is not simply a book of manners. Rather, it's a collection of writings showing what God-centered wisdom looks like in the nitty-gritty of life. So Proverbs is really just a collection of writings that shows what God-centered wisdom looks like in the nitty-gritty of life. So scholar Derek Kidner notes, even when Proverbs is most down to earth, it consists in the shrewd and sound handling of one's affairs in God's will and in submission to his will. And so in ways, oh my gosh, I missed a word there. In what ways do you think a God-centered wisdom will be different than other kinds of wisdom, other than the obvious that it's God-centered? So I already gave you that answer. What ways could God-centered wisdom be different than a man-centered wisdom?
Well, it's going to be based on God's law, for one thing.
Yeah, boom. It won't have the A word in it like mine did.
There you go. May not.
It may not. I mean, there's some debate there in the Hebrew, maybe. Yeah, it would definitely be. It won't be based on. That's one of the cool things you could do if you're really feeling fancy. Is you can look at how each one of the Proverbs, and we'll do this a little bit, really reflects to one of the 10 Commandments, especially Commandment number 1. Honor that God. Yeah. So. Have no other gods beside me, not honor that God. That's number 4, honor my parents. But yeah, it won't be seeking for wisdom in and of myself. It won't be looking to me. It will be rather looking to God to be my wisdom, the one that gives it to me. It won't be contradictory. It won't, the do as I do and not as I say thing, or do as I say and not as I do. It's great, but at the same time, kids can be turned off by that, or so it's yeah. So let's begin. What is wisdom? At its base, wisdom is simply practical truth. However, like a prism would separate light into a rainbow, so Proverbs separates God-centered wisdom into many different components. So for Proverbs, one of these are phrases we'll hear again and again that refer to wisdom. So in Proverbs 1, not Proverbs 1, but Proverbs, wisdom is A, receiving instruction, training, correction, reproof, and discipline. Simply put, wisdom is something that is hard won and is attained through both mind and character. So again, it's not...
sometimes hard knocks.
Yeah, school of hard knocks, and that's kind of what that discipline is, talking about both divine discipline, but also when life throws at you rough stuff. That is often where you get wisdom, at least in my my training. It's also being willing to receive correction, reproof. As we'll meet in the next page, the different characters who don't take wisdom, such as the scoffer, will not receive that reproof or correction. B, wisdom is understanding and insight. In Proverbs, these two often have to do with discerning between two things. As Solomon himself prayed in 1 Kings 3:9 when he was asking God for wisdom, he said, "Give your servant, therefore, an understanding mind to govern your people, that I may discern between good and evil." One of the things over the past couple of years, sometimes it's tough to discern as good and evil, is just, what is the right choice to make in this instance? And so wisdom is knowing how to seek God and understand his law enough so that when you're going on a certain course of action, what is right, what is wrong. And Proverbs helps you in that practical application of what it looks like when you're doing your finances to discern between good and evil, or what it looks like when you're dealing with the temptation to gossip to discern between good and evil, and that sort of thing. Wisdom is wise dealing and good sense. That one's kind of easy. So it's, street smarts, knowing what to do. Wisdom is shrewd and discreet. Once again, Kidner notes, the godly man is in the best sense, a man of affairs, who takes the trouble to know his way about and plan his course realistically. And so wisdom is not spontaneous, I'll go this way, that way, this way, that way. It rather thinks and meditates upon God's word and thinks about its actions before it does it. And it does it not in a sense of, hey, look at me, but in a discreet fashion. Wisdom is knowledge and learning. The former, Kidner writes, is a knowing of truth and indeed of God himself, and the latter tending to emphasize that doctrine is something given and received, so teaching about God and truth, or grasped. So look at all those again. Present company excluded, obviously. Where have you, in the world, have you seen this kind of biblical Proverbs type wisdom from people? Have you ever had an experience or an encounter with it?
Not that I right offhand.
I think we all can relate to E. I mean, there's certain things that we have knowledge of, but we're constantly learning as we move through this life.
Obviously, as Terry pointed out, and I kind of said before, I mean, wisdom with correction and reproof and discipline, and some of the wisest people we know are those who went through hell. And so that's true. Sometimes they aren't, and that's why the other things come in, because it's easy to get bitter and lose hope and all of that. But at the same token, some people that have emerged from the other side do have a hard-fought wisdom.
My daughter-in-law's grandpa, who went through World War II at a very young age, he came back home from there because he said his life was completely changed. God blessed him with wisdom. He was more patient and understanding, and he looked at life differently. And he thanked God for everything, for all the blessings that he had.
That's incredible too, because that could have gone the other way. I mean, that's amazing. Has children given any of you wisdom, or is it mainly taken it away? I thought about things that have. Yeah, when you said the word patient. Yeah. But I've noticed it did, I think Luther wrote somewhere that, children are God's best instruments of sanctification or something to make you holy, because they chip away your selfishness in a way that nothing else can. And I noticed that early on especially, but even now I noticed, I had an anger problem before kids, and that got painfully chipped away. I got other things before, and it's just interesting, those selfish things that I didn't think about before kids were so blatant when they came in the world and didn't steal my time. But you have to be other-centered, and kids are a school of hard knocks.
I don't know about wisdom, but it sure teaches you patience.
And exhaustion. I'd say that comes from but yeah, I mean,
I'll sleep and not sleep.
Yeah, but yeah, especially you're re-going through that school of hard knocks right now.
I went through it twice.
Yeah, 2.0.
Yeah.
All right.
I don't want 2.1.
Through work life, I mean, I've been blessed with some good bosses, I've been blessed with some bad bosses, but
Oh yeah.
some of my bosses actually became my mentors, my friends today.
Yeah.
Years back.
Yeah, I had a couple pastors I worked. Same thing.
I think on the other side of that, you get bosses that are so bad, in your opinion, you learn what you don't want to do, what not to do if you're in that same position.
I also had
I know
that.
that happened to me.
Yeah. And also that, like children, teaches you patience.
There you go.
holding one's tongue.
About this much.
Holding one's tongue. And yeah. So one of the fun things about Proverbs is it uses personification. So it takes its concepts and turns them into people. And so it uses personifications of various characteristics it seeks to describe. So throughout the book, as we're working our way through it, you're going to notice different people pop up again and again. So obviously there's the wise, and the wise are those who fear the Lord, which is the beginning of wisdom. That's Proverbs 1:7. We'll look at that next week. So the whole idea, we'll get into what fear the Lord is, all that is next week.
Remember a non-biblical?
What's that?
Non-biblical proverb.
Oh, give it to me.
Confucius said, "Man standing on toilet is high on pot."
Yeah, that is a non-biblical proverb. Yes, her Confucius one was less adult, because that's what both of you did. A Confucius one.
Confucius one too.
I remember that one. That's such a dad joke.
That is an old one. I think DVE said.
Yeah, because it had the guy had the voice too, which you couldn't get away with now. We used to tape those. I remember. Oh, Confucius. I remember that. I think that's late 80s, early 90s. I remember taping that guy doing that voice.
It had to have been 90s.
Yeah.
Yes, I remember that as a kid.
Yeah. So it's not as old as you think. You're good. You're good. It's only 30 years ago, not. Yeah. All right. So you have the wise. You have the fool. This person has no fear of the Lord, and therefore has a mind that is closed to wisdom, that only comes from God. Even though there's one of the neat things in Proverbs that holds out hope that the fool will come to his senses, but the fool is one who has no fear of the Lord and just kind of does his thing. The fool, especially like when he meets Lady Folly on the street. It's a really good example of what falling into sin looks like. And so he just kind of goes with his desires and does it. So a flip over, and you're in for a surprise. This is Proverbs personified by Pastor Sean in his 30s, because I was a mixed bag back then. So the wise is obviously the man with the glasses. The fool is me when I got lice from one of my kids, and I had to shave my long hair that was beautiful, and it never came back after that. But now it can't come back now. Yes, that was me shaving my head. Ironically, I think this was actually providence. That was a year before you hired me. And so I do wonder if I would have came here with the interview with these long curly locks, if they'd been like, well, we don't know about this hippie. So I think the lice, I think
we have wisdom too.
Yeah. So I think that was providence that I got lice. I mean, can you imagine trying to comb lice out of that curly hair? It would not have worked. So I had to shave it and then do the olive oil treatment. All right. Next in the description, but also in the picture, is the simple, a person who is easily led astray, gullible, and silly. And so the simple is another character you run into who just kind of will follow anybody, and that's me taking advice from a llama. Yeah. So he probably would have spit at me in a second later. But I know there's something about him was my spirit animal. The scoffer is a proud and arrogant and scorns God's ways. He impresses the impressionable. He's the one that leads the simple astray. But his bad influence is plain to the wise. So the wise will go, I know that guy. He's a scoffer. So there is me as the FedEx Pope. That was a character from Conan O'Brien. But yeah, that's me as the scoffer. That's the best I could find. As you can tell, the shirt says loser, which is, I don't know. I must have had some self-esteem issues in my early 30s. And then the sluggard, he does not begin, does not finish, and does not face things. He is restless with unsatisfied desire, helpless in face of his affairs, and is to those whom I missed a word there. What was the word that was in the original one? How did I miss that? He is exhausting to those who employ them. So there's me as a sluggard, laying down, not knowing what to do. Again, early 30s, and I'm a millennial, outer millennial, I guess. The year before, if I was 1 year before, I would have been Gen X, and I'm sad about that.
You can tell by the Transformer shirt.
Yeah, and so that's me. Just we don't tend to get out of the parents' house until 35 years old, and I was playing video games in the basement, and I was like drinking Mountain Dew, and I ran out. And I'm like, I don't want to go. Mom, go to Giant Eagle. That was me right there. So, Hobie, here are the pictures here, by the way, for you to look at.
I honestly had no idea those were you.
Yeah.
First glance, I did not know.
It's 70 pounds heavier and long hair. All right. So anyways, and also the other things you're going to meet Lady Wisdom, Lady Folly, and the Woman of Excellence, which you ladies are all fit that. That's the Proverbs 31 women. You ladies are all fit that. But those are some other people you will meet. So again, present company excluded, especially given the pictures. Have you met any of these personifications in real life? So have you met anybody that is the wise or the fool, the simple, the scoffer, the sluggard?
The sluggard, I've met plenty.
Yeah.
Like you said, I don't know if it's a millennial thing or what, but there's a ton of people. What you described with the living with your parents, I can't tell you how many people I knew that were like that.
Yeah.
That's unfortunately.
One of my neighbors is.
Mm-hmm. And is there which of these negative ones to you, man, my spelling was off this day. Which one of the negative ones do you struggle with? Confession. The sluggard, yeah. I looked in the mirror. That's what I looked in the mirror, and the enemy was me. Yeah, the sluggard was me. I definitely. Was that simple?
I think most kids probably fall into the simple, if I'm being completely honest.
Yeah, oh yeah.
I mean, easily, friends can easily point you.
Yeah, and teenagers, yeah. Sometimes, let's be honest, sometimes we can be wise. It can happen. A clock's right, a broken clock is right twice a day.
I feel like these are almost stages of your life.
Yeah.
To be honest.
Interesting. Yeah.
You know, like I feel like, not in the right order, but you could definitely point a certain time in your life where that was more you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the wise being as you get older, you definitely lean that direction. I feel like most people.
But the sluggard is ever with you in the background.
I feel like that's just a teenager.
That's just lurking, but it's lurking. It lurks. Do I need to change that air conditioner filter? Nah, I can do it tomorrow. That kind of the sluggard's there. I think occasionally I could be a scoffer, in the sense not proud. I think maybe not like outwardly, but I think my heart sometimes can be arrogant and proud, and maybe I don't know about scorn God's.
Coffee.
No, that's a proper wisdom. Knowing, as Proverbs says, knowing the wine, the choicest wine, you just replace that with coffee, and it's all right. Proverbs and the larger story of the Bible. I'm going to kind of give a little side point that's not written here, but this was written in a curriculum that I borrowed here. Proverbs advances the overarching theme of the Bible, which is God calling, preserving, and shaping a people for Himself. Proverbs advances this theme uniquely through the offer of wisdom. In 4 poems of chapter 1 through 9, wisdom is personified as a noble lady whom one should pursue. The personification anticipates the words of the Apostle Paul. Jews demand Christ and Greeks seek wisdom, but we preach Christ crucified, a stumbling block to the Jews and folly to the Gentiles. But to those who are called, both Jews and Greeks, Christ is the power of God and the wisdom of God. But I would also add, one of the cool things you do if you want to do a big old Bible study when you get home is trace wisdom through the entire Bible. And what it is. So if you look at the fall, so think about Adam and Eve in the garden right before they ate the fruit from the tree. God gives them the command. Following that command and receiving it from God is what is wisdom. But what does Satan say? He undermines God's word and says, "Did God really say that?" And then Eve looks at it, and the Bible says, when she saw that the fruit was good for food and was good for making one wise. And so a really big part of that sin, and sin in general, was being wise in one's own eyes. And so that's what they were looking for, was to be wise apart from God. And so Proverbs is kind of antidote to it, because it shows us what being wise, in union with God looks like. Then as the Bible continues, you have all these examples of people acting wisely, but mostly people acting foolishly. When God gives the law, Moses says, "This will be your wisdom." Then the prophets, they lambast Israel for lack of knowledge. I think it's Isaiah, "My people perish for a lack of knowledge." So again, it's always about being wise in your own eyes and refusing the knowledge and wisdom that God gives. So then when the New Testament rolls around, for example, that passage in 1 Corinthians, in context, it's talking about why God chose to be recognized through the cross. And it pretty much says, let me just get it here myself so I can not paraphrase poorly. 1 Corinthians 1:22. For the cross is folly, but to those being saved is the power of God. So for it is written, and this is from the prophets here in Isaiah, "I will destroy the wisdom of the wise, and the discernment of the discerning I will thwart. Where is the one who is wise? Where is the scribe? Where is the debater of this age? Has not God made foolish the wisdom of the world?" And this is important. This goes all the way back to Eve. "For since in the wisdom of God, the world did not know God through wisdom, it pleased God through the folly of what we preach to save those who believe." Then it goes to that. So because we are so obsessed with being wise in our own eyes, God comes in to what looks foolish to human eyes, the cross, and saves us. And so that humbles us and makes us realize, our wisdom amounts to nothing when it comes to who God is. And so it's kind of cool how the Bible does it. And if you're really going to go in the end, Daniel in the Apocalypse talks about God bringing himself a people of the wise, and it's kind of cool. So if you're bored and you want to go through the back of your Bible with concordance and wisdom, go do that. It's kind of fun. All right. So in preparation for our wise journey, your assignment for this week is to read Proverbs 1:7. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge. And then James 1:5. If any of you lacks wisdom, let him ask God, who generously gives generously to all without reproach, and it will be given him. So ask God to humble your heart, to deepen your fear of him, so you will embrace the wisdom that he offers in Proverbs. And don't stand on a toilet, as Confucius say. It makes you high on pot.
Or use a pickle for
Yeah. All right, that's all, Hobie. All right.